Star Wars, where'd you really start with that one? Quite a big one. You love it or you hate it. Sort of like Marmite, I suppose. My first memory went back to when my uncle lent us the VHS of the original trilogy. In fact, I think it was just A New Hope. Um, from that moment on until today, really, I've loved the film series, along with a lot of the games. Not all of them, but most of them. Um, and for me, it's my all-time favorites always sort of dabbled between 4, 5, and 6. Um, but I would always peg The Empire Strikes Back as one of my favorite because you got Hoth, incredible. You've got lightsaber fights, stuff, incredible. You got the most iconic scene in the entire series. You can argue about that, but I'm not going to put any spoilers. I mean, if you haven't seen it by now, I mean, probably too late. And what else? You got Han Solo being himself. You got that love relationship kicking off. You got a little bit of everything. You got a bit of Chewie. You got a bit of C-3PO. You get a bit of R2-D2 just being himself. You got Yoda for the first time. Oh, you got a bit of everything in that film. Going on, I suppose, more to the video game side of things, I would say the first handful of games I played that was Star Wars related was back on the PlayStation 1. My parents got me Episode 1, the game. Started playing it again recently. I'll be brutally honest, it's not really aged well. I don't even think it was aged well at the time. But I still have a soft spot for it. I think it's a great game. The movie's a bit hit and miss. I mean, it's got some good moments for me. But it's nice to actually be able to play through the film basically in the game. It has some bits in it that I suppose theoretically there could be in between the lines in the film, but not a bad game really. Not a bad game. And the first one I really got into, no, I can't for the life of me remember what it was called, but I was going to one of my parents' friends' house. Their son, who was older than me, had a PS1 as well, and I would swap games with him back then. And they were having like a dinner party downstairs. And I remember playing on this PlayStation. I think it was Rebel Assault. I could be wrong. The only bits I can remember is, apart being a TIE fighter, it was pretty incredible. But yeah, I remember even asking him could I take that home, and I had that for 2 weeks. I played that quite a lot. And then another one a friend at school had Jedi Power Battles, I think, which was like a lot better version than Episode 1, I felt anyway at the time, but I would still prefer Episode 1 just because it was actually mine and it was the first one I ever played. I remember being that wee fella with the face mask with the orange lightsaber. I thought that could be a different game. I could be wrong. I vaguely remember bits from that. I'd actually like to play that one again soon. I remember having the original Battlefront and Battlefront 2 and just playing the instant campaigns in that was incredible. I always felt like that was probably the very first time it felt like you were actually in the sort of Star Wars universe, and it was incredible. I absolutely loved that game. And then I think it was shortly after that I started playing Republic Commando for the very first time on computer, and probably one of the first games that I remember where NPCs weren't completely useless. Because I always remember at the time NPCs either blocking the way, getting in the way, not literally not doing anything. I mean, you take it back to the PS1. Now, I might be remembering this right, but Qui-Gon Jinn at the start, completely useless. I don't even know what he's there for. So it was actually good to have a tactical first-person shooter game, and it was probably the first-person shooter Star Wars game I played. And at least from my memories, without getting onto the newer version on the Switch, was pretty positive. I've really enjoyed it. I played it the whole way through a couple of times. I suppose back then I didn't really have many games on the computer, so it was just sort of going back and forth between a handful of different games, but that was one of my all-time favourite Star Wars games back in the day, that along with Battlefront, the original one, between 1 and 2. 2 a little bit better because you could actually play as Jedi, and there were space battles, which did make it a lot cooler. Yeah, so first started playing Republic Commando, that would have been back around in 2006, from what I remember, so not long after it came out. To think that's 10 years ago. Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't make you feel old, it makes me feel very old. Yeah, one of the things with that one, it just, the story grabbed me in a bit. I mean, it's nothing incredible, it's nothing you'd give awards to, nothing in the realms of like Half-Life 2, your other games with like great stories, but I still felt it was quite compelling. I mean, for an area of characters that I maybe wasn't even interested in, I never thought, oh, I'd love to be a clone trooper. It was like, not really. I'd just Jedi, Jedi, Yoda, Jedi, Jedi. Yep, and then fast forward 10 years, and then that's then the launch of the Nintendo Switch itself. I didn't get one right away, but I'd seen a lot of footage and reviews, especially around Breath of the Wild. And I think after you see so much, you're like, that actually looks really good. And then from then on in, I kept seeing more and more snippets of different games, gameplay, and I thought I need to at least try this out. And I think a little over a year when it first was released, I ended up getting one with Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey, I believe. And I think from then on in, the game library's grown massively. The first party games are incredible. Really starting to enjoy it for the older retro games. So the collections they have, like the Capcom collection, Castlevania, Contra. They've got absolute tons of retro style games, and that's a massive bonus. Yeah, I could talk for hours and hours, I suppose, about the Switch, but I'll probably save that for another time. Yeah, and then a couple of weeks ago, Republic Commando came out on the Switch. I'd sort of heard about it a few weeks prior, and it's probably actually the first game I pre-ordered in a remarkably long time. And I saw that and it just rekindled everything from playing old Star Wars games. Yeah, and then I've been playing it on and off for the past week or so, and yes, just really the same as the original, really. Yeah, just to throw, I suppose, any of the negatives out there first. For me, I've had the odd issue here and there. It just doesn't seem to run smoothly at times. Not sure if that's just with me, or if it's just how the game is, to be honest. It does feel a bit sluggish, it's slow at times. But apart from the odd jitter here and there, I've really had no issue with it apart from that. Even the controls on the Switch Pro controller, it works really well, to be honest. And in all fairness, it's aged really well. I really do think so. It still looks pretty good for a game that's well over 10 years old, if not more. It still looks great, still plays great, still a fun game. And to be able to play it in portable mode, that's something you told me when I was younger. No, I wouldn't have believed it. Like, oh, you can play it in the palm of your hands. I'd be like, you're insane. Would not have believed younger me. But the sheer ability to play some of these older games in portable mode is just incredible. And I suppose if you haven't played it, I would recommend it, especially if you're into other Star Wars games or you're a Star Wars fan. Maybe if you're not, I might avoid it. There is the odd issue here and there I've had with it, but as I said, nothing major. Yeah, I would say, I suppose if there's more you want to know in the game, there's a lot of great reviews out there. And this is not a review of such, it's just rekindling on a game I've loved and been enjoying over the past few weeks. And yeah, I'd recommend if you were a fan, if you've even played the original, just to get back in, play a game from your past again in portable mode, especially if you have a Switch. I would say in that case, it's worthwhile picking up. And it still stands out to me as probably one of my favourite Star Wars games. Yeah, alongside the original Battlefront game and Episode 1. Possibly a little bit controversial, that one, but I absolutely love it. And then I'd be interested to know anyone out there what your favourite Star Wars game of all time is. And if anyone else has been playing Republic Commando and sort of what you've felt about it. And I'd be actually interested to know if anyone else out there's had the old like stutter issue, or else I'm maybe just thinking it's a bit glitchy at times. It just seems a bit odd. But yeah, fantastic game. Great to have it on the Switch. I'm really looking forward to hopefully them bringing out other games like that. Prior to that, I'd been playing a good bit of the original BioShock on the Switch, and that game to me is just one of my favourite sort of first-person action story games. That is just incredible. Loved it when I was a kid on the PC. And to be able to go back again and play that in portable mode has just been incredible. So I could write a massive list of games I would want to see come onto the Switch, and hopefully, you never know, they might do in the future. Until the next video, I'll see you then.